Access granted.
I am back to interviewing streamers and asking them about their background, how they got to Twitch, and their journey as streamers. My goal is to drop an episode at least twice a month. Do whatever the equivalent of following is on the platform you are listening to this on, so you know when I have dropped the next episode of Stream Machine. If you end up enjoying this episode, please give it 5 stars or whatever that is on the platform you're listening on, so that this podcast can grow. And thank you for that. And a reminder on who I am. I am Minish Gold. I stream on Twitch on Tuesday through Thursdays and on Saturdays, and often more than that. And these days I'm playing a lot of variety. Right now that is Punch Out for the NES, Strider 2014, and DKC2. And as time passes, I will be playing other games. But in the end, I stream to be with you, to be with my friends, for the company, to talk, to mess around. And if you'd like to join us and have some fun, please follow twitch.tv/miniaturegold so you know when I'm streaming, so you can hang with us. This is episode 12 of Stream Machine, and in this episode I interviewed Dangil. This episode will be special for a variety of reasons. One of those is that I've known Dangil for about 2.5 years. I met him through Twitch via a raid of a mutual friend, the Jank, and I've basically known him pretty close to the beginning of his streaming journey, and so it'll be interesting to hear him talk about how he got into streaming and how his stream grew, and also me having been there at the same time as well. And another reason why this interview will be special is because Dangil is also talented in a variety of ways, and one of those ways is that he's very good at drawing. He drew his own emotes, he drew my emotes, he's drawn emotes for other streamers, and one of those was a very big streamer by the name Barber's King, who, if not the biggest Super Mario World Kaizo streamer, at least one of the biggest, and also now does a lot of variety, and so you get to hear his account on how that came about. And then another reason why this interview will be special is because Dangil is very good at presenting a narrative, laying out the lore, not necessarily just for games, but also for his personal experiences. And you'll also see that reflected when he talks about his personal experiences, where he grew up and where he moved, why he moved, and the games he was into. You'll also see his ability to present a narrative in this podcast when you hear him talk. And for that reason, he's also good at conversing and, entertaining. And so those are the reasons why I think this interview was special. I hope you enjoy it. And please remember, go check out his channel. You can find him at twitch.tv/Dangil, spelled Dangil. And yeah, go check him out. You can see what his community is like and how welcoming they'll be. You can see how he's good at conversing and being welcoming with chat. So yeah, go check him out, and I hope you have a good time there. And yeah, please enjoy the interview that I had with Dangil. Quick disclaimer for this interview: there are 2 clips that you will not be able to appreciate the full effect of if you're only listening. One of these clips is related to Dangil drawing on stream, and another one is related to something that he's wearing. And yeah, that's better done if you're actually seeing it rather than just hearing it. So if you'd like to see it, go to the YouTube video. But if you're content with just hearing the audio, then just listen to the podcast. But yeah, I just wanted to make you aware of that.
So what I did was just I sketched these things. Then I gave the sketches to my friend, the one who got me into streaming, and she
Yeah.
would like make those drawings digital and paint them. I would tell her the colors. And the first two emotes of the channel were made in that way. But then I realized that I didn't want to bother her all the time, every time I had an idea. I was like, well, I
Right.
have to do something about this. So I grabbed an old drawing tablet that I had, and which I'm still using to this day.
Hey, Dangle.
Hey, Gold, what's up?
Not so much. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, all fine. Like, running as usual. Always busy.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So for those of you who have listened before, I'm going to be interviewing Dangle, asking him about his origins as far as gaming and growing up, and then eventually he moved and then started streaming. So I'll be asking him about just yeah how he got into all of that. Um, so yeah, I guess to start off, growing up, you originally grew up in Colombia, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I grew up in Colombia.
And then, like, what did you do for fun, like recreationally? Not necessarily just gaming, but like, what else? Yeah, what all did you do?
So it was a different time, right? I am almost 40. So,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the late 80s and the 90s, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
world was very different back then. Even though Colombia was socially very unstable, we still
Mm-hmm.
had or I still had the typical childhood where you will go out and play with friends and play football in the
Mm-hmm.
street, or like
Mm-hmm.
ride your bike around the block and stuff like that. So it was pretty
Mm-hmm.
much that. I wasn't too I don't know. Like my life was also on the move. We were kind of moving all the time. And the longest we would live in a house would be like 2 years. So it was always difficult for me to make friends because I knew that I was leaving, right?
Um, what was the reason for the constant moving? Like,
Like it was life happening. Mm, on the family side of things, like I grew up with a single mom and
mm-hmm.
two sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the oldest one, right? And the thing was that my mom would change jobs, or the situation would change, or some
Mm,
family
okay.
member needed
Yeah.
some assistance, and we would have to move
Mm-hmm.
and live with them or move around. And it was always like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
I do have some good memories of like childhood friends and whatnot, people that I met and
Mm-hmm.
I actually became friends with. But it wouldn't
Yeah.
last more than me living there in that neighborhood or whatever. So yeah, I was that kid who was always moving.
Interesting.
Mm.
Um, and then as far as what got you into gaming, like um what was your like first console?
Damn, my first experience with gaming is a very it's one of my first memories in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I remember that I was around probably like 2.5 years old, 3 years old, when my dad, who was still living with us at the time, he's a lawyer, and he he got paid for one of his jobs. He got paid with partially with money and partially with things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, we're talking about what, 86 or something like that, right? He got
Mm-hmm.
paid with an Atari 2600, and he brought it home, and he was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't know anything about this stuff. My dad is completely tech illiterate, right? It was like, I don't know how to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they set it up, my mom and my dad, and that's my first memory, me playing Asteroids for the 2600.
Mm. Astros, was that the one where like you're in the center or and you're like Astros are coming at you, you're shooting at them? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Or
You're like this little triangle, like shooting lines, and then big,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, like big asterisks of color will come around you, and then you shoot at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
And like not related, but just me just being curious.
So does that imply there were other versions of Atari then?
Yeah, so Atari is this company, like they started, working on this machine since the 70s, and
Mhm,
they had different versions of like Pong, for instance. We were just a Pong machine. And
mhm,
then
mhm,
when they went into the family computer market, which was referred to in Japan, because of the boom of this thing in the late 70s, early 80s, they went for this
mhm.
console thing. So they created the Atari 2600, which was like cartridges, and it was like your home computer, family computers they call it, right? That's where the Famicom comes from too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
but yeah, it was mostly ports of like poorly done ports of arcade games. Um, and because of the tech, it wasn't that great. So yeah, there are more versions of the Atari. There's several even versions of the 2600, but then
Oh,
afterwards there are
interesting.
much
Yeah.
more, many other versions of the Atari consoles. Later on down the road, like
Mhm.
the Jaguar and the 20. What is it, like the 7000 or something like that? Like I don't know. It's like a they have a bunch of Ataris. Yeah. Mm.
Interesting. Um, and then at some point you got into drawing. Like, at what age did you start trying to learn how to draw?
Well, I don't really remember, but
Okay.
when I was very young, there is that still lives somewhere. I think it's an one uncle. My mom has several brothers, and
Mhm.
one of my uncles was like always trying to push me to do new stuff, and
Mhm.
he still has my first archive drawing, which is a
Wow.
Superman that I made for him.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's I mean, I was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
one of those drawings that people put in the fridges and then forget about them. But my uncle still has it. Yeah, so I think that's the first time. But I would
Mhm.
say that more into it, more conscious of it, when I was
Mhm.
in what we in Colombia would call fourth grade, which is something that you are around. I was 8 years old or something, or seven.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, there was this anime that was huge in Latin
Mhm.
America
Mhm.
called Captain Tsubasa, or the
Yeah.
translation would be like Super Champions. And it was this
Mhm.
football, this soccer anime.
Mhm.
And everyone was into it, like everybody, because it's super over the top, right? Like you have matches that last for 20 episodes, and there's 30 minutes of running between the midfield and the goal, and it's insane. Um,
It sounds like the Dragon Ball Z
No,
of
no, yeah,
football.
absolutely, absolutely. Super over the top, like super shots and
Mhm.
and impossible curves and
Yeah.
whatever. And
Mhm. Mhm.
everyone was into it, so I started kind of copying those and
Mhm. Mhm.
photocopying those and selling the photocopies to my classmates.
Mhm.
And you
And
know,
then, oh, sorry,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
no, that's pretty much it.
And then, also, just to be clear to the audience, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because uh, drawing and emotes is a big part of Dangle's channel, so that's what we're going into, like the influence on that.
Right, that
Um,
happened without wanted
yeah.
to, though. Like, I mean, it was completely involuntary.
Hmm. And then, like DBZ and like Akira Toriyama were a big influence on your like how you draw,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Um, that also started back then. I think it was a little bit after. In Latin America, we
Mm-hmm.
watched DBZ, I think, before you guys in North America. Um, the anime
Okay.
scene in Latin America was booming since the 80s, much more than in North
Mm-hmm.
America, right? Like for you guys started like mid 90s, probably, like stuff like that.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
us was like mid
Mm-hmm.
mid mid 80s. Um,
That's interesting.
so we watched Dragon Ball Z before you guys, and
Mm-hmm.
I was super into it, super into it. So I
Mm-hmm.
found the style to be very unique and different from everything else. So I was like, I think I can do this. So I started practicing
Mm-hmm.
on purpose that
Mm-hmm.
style, and that's the style that I probably like practiced the most and worked on the most. Yeah.
Cool. Um, and I guess before I get into like you like moving countries, I guess what I want to get into is like I guess other consoles that were memorable to you and the games that you remember most for those consoles.
Mm.
Um Like, if I'm gonna take a guess, and you can correct me, but I think I'm guessing the games that were kind of biggest for you were like Mega Man X, Symphony of the Night, Chrono Trigger, Suikoden, Wild Arms. That's what comes to my mind when I think of you.
Yeah, that's great. I love that that's the case because it's not your usual same three games, right? It's you just mentioned games there that many people is like, what the fuck is that, right? What is Wild Arms? What is Suikoden? And I love that
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, I would say that I could spend like an entire 24-hour recording here, like just
Mhm.
talking about each game from each console, but um
Mhm.
they all mean a lot to me for different reasons in different moments of my life, I guess. But
Mhm.
yeah, like the NES is very meaningful because I have a lot of memories of the NES with my older brother. I have a half brother,
Mm.
and he's
Mhm.
older than me 5 years. But we were both into gaming so hard, and we would play, Castlevania. I would try to finish the Castlevania games, Mega Man, the original ones, like
Mm.
the
Mhm.
NES,
Yeah.
all this stuff, right? Zelda. I was very much into Zelda
Mhm.
also growing up, and Mario, of course. Mario,
Mm.
Mario was
Mhm.
my first. The Mario 3 was the first game that I remember asking for Christmas, right? Because I saw it.
I
I was
have
like, I
to.
needed that game.
Mhm. And I have to know because in a previous episode, I also talked to Gorpo about
Mm.
Mario 3. Did you finish it as a kid?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Really? Okay. Okay.
My biggest achievement at
Um.
the time was finishing Ninja
Mhm.
Gaiden and Castlevania 1.
Oh
So
man.
Mario was
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course. Mario was just the fun one.
The roots of your god
Yeah.
gamerhood. Um. Um. Okay. And so then, when did you move to Belgium? Like you moved for like university, right?
Well, it wasn't exactly for university like reasons.
Oh, okay.
I
Hmm.
was okay. I was in Colombia. I was working as a professor at the university. Um,
Oh, okay.
but at some point, the requirements to keep being a professor also like go up. And
Mm-hmm.
I only had at that point I only had a bachelor's and a lot of experience, which was what I was using as a to keep my job and whatnot. But at a point
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, legally you have to have at least a master's degree, so you have to keep like
Mm, yeah.
um. But that wasn't entirely the reason. I was married,
Okay.
and my wife was from Spain. And my wife was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I also kind of want to do something different. She was also working over there, and
Mm-hmm.
and we decided to move to Europe. So that's why we did it. It was just to change everything and live here in Europe. It wasn't necessarily
Oh,
to
okay.
study at first. Yeah.
That's
Mm.
interesting. And so, like, I guess now that I assume now you're like just on your own,
Yeah.
but now, now that you're on your own, do you have any desire to move elsewhere? Or are you pretty like settled in Belgium?
Mm. I've always had. I don't know if it's because of what we spoke earlier about me moving constantly, but I always had this feeling that like I belong nowhere. you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like any place is really home. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Even though right now I am in a very good place, like I feel really good, but I'm not attached to the city or the neighborhood or the country or I don't feel that sense of belonging that many people do. So I don't really think too much about it. I think it's if life happens, I will move wherever life wants me to, and that's pretty much how it works.
Just whatever is like practical
Yeah,
for the current
absolutely.
time.
I don't have like any any like none of these thoughts torment me. Like, oh, I have to go back to Colombia. It's like, okay, cool. Like, my mom's
Mm-hmm.
there and some families there.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I have to stay here. Oh, that's great too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't really.
And then going back to when you were studying in Belgium, so you studied in
Yeah.
linguistics, and if I recall, I think was your research topic, or you wanted your research topic to be localization in video games. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it ended up being something completely different, and
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going a different, an absolute different, path and subgenre of the whole linguistics thing. But that was originally
Mm-hmm.
my idea. I always wanted to become a translator for video games and work in localization.
Mm-hmm.
But the industry is insanely hard to get into. It's really poorly paid, and it's just not
Oh,
worthy, man. It's just
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the topic is very interesting.
Um,
So I helped a friend during
mhm.
during her research. She did her research on localization, and I helped as much as I could with that. So I was very involved in that
Mhm.
project as well. But yeah,
And then just backtracking again for a
yeah,
second. I was curious how you got interested in linguistics.
that was also by chance. I was I went to university and I studied first. I studied statistics, which
Hmm.
was part of the School of Engineering back in my university back in Colombia.
Hmm.
So I would take all the math classes and all these things. And back then, something really bad happened in my personal life with my family, so I couldn't continue
Hmm.
studying, and I wasn't
Okay.
feeling it. So I was like, okay, I quit, right?
Hmm.
And when I came back to university, I started studying design, and that was because a cousin is an architect. And when he studied architecture, he wanted to be a designer,
Hmm.
but the design as a career didn't exist. So when I
Mm,
was
okay.
about to pick a new career or like a new major, right? He said, "Look, design is great, dude," and I admired this person so much. Like
Hmm.
like I didn't have this father figure or anything like that, but I had my cousin. He was like 8 years older than me, and I look
Hmm.
up to him in so many ways. So when he mentioned design, I was like, design is what I have to do then. Um, and I went and studied design. I had a very difficult situation back then where I had to study one semester and then work the next, and everything was like
I
super unstable.
yeah.
And when I was on my last semester, on 10th semester, uh, they basically university told me, no, you can't return, you can't come back, you have to start over because we are I don't know, like repashing the whole plan, the whole program. So if you
Mm.
want to continue, you would have to take a lot of courses that you haven't taken because they didn't exist. So
Uh,
you have to start over.
yeah.
And I said, well,
Hmm.
fuck you, I'm leaving.
Yeah. No. No.
And at that point, I was working as a designer. I was designing like 3D modeling and doing some and learning some jewelry. So working with jewels and
Oh.
metals.
Hmm.
And that job was good. It paid good, but I had no time. I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't see like anybody. I couldn't meet anybody new. I was like working 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, and I
Yeah.
was like, this sucks. I hate this. So I quit,
Yeah. No.
and I
Yeah.
needed a job. So that summer, I was like, what the fuck do I do, man? I have no bachelor's of anything. I have no, like I have nothing. I don't know what the fuck am I gonna
Mm.
do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And then a friend said, like, hey, listen, why don't you just apply to teach English in one of these like local institutions? Maybe you're gonna get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I mean, I'll apply. And I applied that summer, and I got hired. Like, I mean, I got like confirmation they wanted to hire me 3 institutions at the same time.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I, and this is the shittiest thing. Like, I mean, this is the funniest thing I did back then because I
Mm-hmm.
started to look into which one was less annoying to me as a worker, right? And there
Yeah.
was one, only one, who didn't have like a very strict dress code, and that's the one I picked. I was like, I'm going
Okay.
for this one.
That's
That was my only reason. So I started teaching English, and then at that point, I was like, okay, there's a career here, and then I went to university again, and since I wasn't going to finish design, I was like, I think this language thing comes more naturally to me than other stuff.
mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go and study, and that's how I ended up studying linguistics. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, I guess by the changes seemed like by necessity, like, just in terms of, yeah, just what worked well with you. And I've experienced something similar as far as I tried to teach, didn't like trying to manage kids,
Mm,
trying to go into nursing. I wasn't good at like memorizing medicines and like all the different like chemicals.
right.
Um,
I mean, I guess there's something to be
and
said there, Gold, with if we all experience this in different countries too, in different contexts, is that I
mm-hmm.
think people are just, these kids are graduating way too young, and they have to make this, life commitment and decide
Mm-hmm.
what they are going to be, and it's like it's not that easy for
Yeah.
everybody, right?
No. Um, okay, so let's talk about streaming. So first of all, what were the first channels you remember watching, and can you, how do you think they like influenced how you stream?
Oh, well, I started watching streams back in Justin TV.
Okay.
Um, I was very much into World of Warcraft. I was playing that super hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
and some of these people like that that are like well ranked or that become more and more popular. They're like, oh, I also stream, or I'm in this platform, so you would go and check them out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't create an account until 2012 when it was already Twitch, and I was too conscious and I was too shy, so I didn't talk in any chat at all. I
Mm-hmm.
would just be there watching the gameplay. I didn't care for community or for the streamer. I was just like watching whatever they were doing, and it was mostly just World of Warcraft streamers. So I didn't take any notes. I wasn't planning on streaming myself. I was like, yeah, this is not something I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do. This is something that only like people with the means to support this kind of thing will do. I don't have that. I need to
Mm-hmm.
go and
Mm-hmm.
work my ass off. I don't have this kind of time,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
this kind of computer that can handle this thing. And I was like, yeah, it is what it is. So I never paid attention. I think when I started to pay more attention to it
Mm-hmm.
was more or less the same kind of stream that I would watch today. So I was watching. I think it was because I was very much into From Software games, right? The Souls games.
Mm-hmm.
And Grand Pooh Bear was playing Bloodborne for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 2018 or something. And I was like, okay, this guy seems fun. I'm gonna watch this. And the
Mm-hmm.
funniest thing is that he was all the time he kept talking about this barb person, and everyone was talking about this barb person, and I was like, okay, who is this barb person? So I was like, I'll go check him
Yeah.
out, and it's like, oh, this guy is fun. So I started watching Barb, and I ended up watching Barb much more than I watched Pooh. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, Barb and Pooh had similar viewership. It was like around 1,000 viewers,
Yeah.
which is not the case anymore. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think from there, like from there, I went to more Souls. Whenever they switched to Mario's and whenever they switched to Mario Maker, I would stop watching. So it was mostly like for the
Mm-hmm.
Souls content,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so that's more or less the origin of me watching, and obviously you take a little bit of inspiration from the streams that you actually enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
And
And oh,
no,
sorry.
no,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, please.
Yeah. So I was curious. You said you were kind of shy initially as far as talking in
Hmm.
chat. Like what what kind of concerns did you have about like talking in chat?
I think I took it too seriously.
Mm.
I think it was for me it was, well, I always felt conscious not being a native speaker. And I
Oh,
was
I
like, what
see.
if I
Okay.
type something that sounds ridiculous? What if I type something that
Mm-hmm.
sounds like textbook English, right? And people
Mm-hmm.
will be like, well, this is not natural. What who that right? I always felt like I was gonna be made fun of. And I was like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want this. I don't want people to make fun of me.
Right.
So
Right.
so I was like, I'd rather just not say anything. And in some other cases was like, they had a lot of inside jokes, or I just, yeah, I didn't get the context of the whole thing. I didn't care.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
So I guess your confidence in speaking English then is like kind of recent then, a recent development.
It's funny because I I knew that I could understand everything I could read when I was already like
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8. I used to play with a dictionary on my hand because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand what the hell
Mm-hmm.
the game wanted from me. And one game that got me stuck was Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. was like, I don't get
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't what this game wants from me. So I sat down from then on, playing with dictionary, and I'll translate everything. So I knew that I could read like this whole things. By the time I was 12, I could like read all these things and had no problem. But I never
Mm-hmm.
really spoke to anybody. That only happened,
Right.
and this is gonna sound really funny, but the first time I
Mm-hmm.
actually spoke to someone was on my job interview for the English teaching job.
And I mean, you got it.
I
So
got it. Like they were so surprised too. It was like,
yeah.
so I didn't say that. I didn't say like, dude, you're the first person that I speak English with. That was
No.
just for
Yeah.
me, but it was very surprising, and I was like, okay, it seems like so. Yeah, I never had time to build confidence. I never like did it with anybody, and
Right.
and I think it was just like this territory that I felt that I didn't have to be there. I could have been watching like Spanish speaking streamers,
Mm-hmm.
so I felt like a foreigner there, and I didn't want to be reminded of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um. All right. And then as far as you like starting streaming, what sparked that?
That was a friend. That was a
Mm-hmm.
friend and the pandemic. So I had this friend from at the time. I think I was finishing my masters,
Mm-hmm.
and I had this friend from university as well. And we were like a group of friends. It was like two or three girls, and it was me.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't see each other anymore after the pandemic started. Right, like Belgium got into heavy, very very strong lockdown in, I think that was April or late March 2020. So couldn't see my friend, and it was months without seeing my friend. And and then she said, you know what? I think you should stream, because we were trying to spend time together with all the friends, like through platforms like Discord, or just
Mm-hmm.
talking a little bit, just maybe watching a movie together. But that was, it was
Yeah.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
And and then my friend was like, you should play online, you should stream. I've never seen Hollow Knight. And Hollow Knight was a game that I will talk about all the time. I was like, I love this game, right? So it's a neat little
Mm-hmm.
game that people at the time were not that much into. Like it wasn't super as popular as it is right now.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I've never seen it. Would you show me the game? And she convinced me, and I started streaming. That was May 2020, and I streamed 4 or 5 times Hollow Knight. That ended, and I didn't stream again until October that year, when my friend
Mm-hmm.
again was still in lockdown, and my friend again is like, "Hey, would you stream something for me? I kind of want to watch this horror game." So I streamed a horror game for
Mm-hmm.
her, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I kind of like this. This is fun." And but I don't have a good computer. Back then, I had like only my laptop, and it was a very crappy laptop. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't. There's a lot of things that I can't play. So I'm gonna wait. So I got a computer, and I started streaming with the schedule, and more seriously on March of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as like so I've been following Dangle's journey for a while because I think we've known each other for what like 2.5 years or something or like
Yeah, I mean, I think if I started streaming on late March, I became affiliate in mid-April, and I think I met you
Mhm.
in late April. Like it was just like immediately. I think you've been there for the entire thing, if not, most of it.
And I guess related to that I remember I don't often remember the first stream that I came into for a specific like
Hmm.
channel but I remember the first stream I came into yours was so mutual friend the Jank had rated you and you were playing Bloodstained and I remember the level that you were on was when like you have these gates you walk into the gate it like teleports you
Right.
um so I remember that's where you were on actually I remember like oddly specific details about that stream
That is very
like
cool.
I Like I remember you still had your braces on it, or so I wasn't sure if your braces or your retainers at that time, but
Right, my
I think you still had.
yeah. My
I
braces,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember why I remember that stuff, but I remember that about about my first stream of yours.
I was so conscious about those braces,
Uh,
dude. I almost stopped streaming because of that shit.
oh really? Okay. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing. I think braces look nice on people, but I don't
No, but
know.
I felt like like you know there is kind of like a weird thing. I think it's because in Colombia this like taking care of and I think in North America as well, like taking care of your teeth is
Mm,
like fundamental. Like that's something that you have to do, right?
sure.
Like if people try to fix their
Yeah.
smile like very early on. Um
Mm-hmm.
and I never had the means. So my teeth were in good condition. They were just like all over the
Yeah.
place because you know, like whatever. And I just needed to fix them a little. It was just the location. But then
Mm-hmm.
time went on. I was like, fuck, I'm 37, 38. I feel weird with braces. Like
Oh.
this is
Okay.
something that kids do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of like that at first. It was a stupid thing, and I was like, ah, you know what? Get over it. I need to fix this crap. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Um, and then
I remember
I think
yours. I
as
remember the
far
first
as
time I saw you
oh.
though.
Mm-hmm.
You were playing Kaizo Kindergarten.
Oh yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
And I remember being so amazed by that. I was like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna start his Kaizo journey. Yeah, journey. That's insane. I'm gonna watch this thing." And then I think you were also
Yeah. Yeah.
alternating, and you played Undertale for the first time.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah, I remember that.
um. So if I were to like talk about like okay, what phases has your channel been through like gaming wise? I think like a big chapter of that for you was Hollow
Hmm,
Knight. Um, so you speed ran it. You eventually completed it deathless, hitless. And then also like yeah, a lot of your emotes are inspired by Hollow Knight.
hmm.
Um, and now your current phase is like Kaizo slash variety.
Yeah, I'm on the Kaizo arc right now.
Hmm.
That is true. I there's a lot about Hollow Knight that I owe to Hollow Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in regards to what my stream journey was. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do for streaming at first,
Hmm.
and I wasn't sure about my content. I was just, hey, you know what? I kind of like playing video games, and I've been doing this for like my entire life. So why not playing more?
Right.
It's a good excuse for me to go through a backlog, and I
Hmm.
started doing it that way. It was mostly Metroidvanias,
Yeah.
and with Hollow Knight was like this general hype for the game on the platform as well. It was like, hey, don't you want to do it a little bit more? Maybe you can go deeper and deeper. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can.
Hmm.
And that's what led me to speed running. But also the emotes were
Hmm.
fundamental. Like at the time, I hit affiliate, and we hit the 50 subs that at the time were needed for having your how many were at the time? Five slots of emotes at the time.
Yeah.
No follower
Hmm.
emotes, no animated, nothing. It was just five.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I need five emotes now. And I was like, you know what? I haven't like sat down and to draw anything in a long time. I should.
Hmm.
And I started sketching. And I am colorblind. So it was I was also very conscious of painting. I was like, I don't know how to paint because if I paint something, then people will be like, "What color is that? That's the wrong color or something."
Hmm.
So I didn't want to do it. So what I did was just I sketched these things. Then I gave the sketches to my friend, the one who got me into streaming, and she
Yeah.
would like make those drawings digital and paint them. I would tell her the colors. And the first two emotes of the channel were made in that way. But then I realized that I didn't want to bother her all the time, every time I had an idea. So I was like, well, I have
Right.
to do something about this. So I grabbed an old drawing tablet that I had, and which I'm still using to this day. Ooh, I think it would. Yeah, I think this is a good idea, chat. You could say that he ties all things together. A BK, yeah, BK should be right. But those are details. Those are just details to the end, for the end. I like it. And I was started just like throwing ideas and then drawing emotes and making stuff like that. And that was the beginning of that. But the character became the Knight from Hollow Knight. So Hollow Knight had to be more present because I was already using part of the imagery, right? And that was one of the reasons why like I got into Hollow Knight so much and it stayed for so long.
Yeah. And so, as far as making your own emotes is concerned, when you're looking at colors, are you focusing more for the colors that you're, I guess, like colorblind to? Are you focusing more just on like the RGB or hex values, or like?
Yeah. So you know, for a while there was also this arc of me doing a lot of commissions for a lot of people, and part of that involves the process of like talking to the client, and it's like, okay, what do you want exactly? What is the idea? What is the references? And something that I learned to do since I was in university was every time I had to do something related to colors was give me the hex. Give me the hex, so there is no, any kind of concern about that.
Right.
So that's what I do basically. If I'm working on my own stuff, I will take a reference from whatever looks good to me, and I will just like copy that color to whatever like I need. But it's not that difficult, really. But yeah, I use a lot of hex color references, so people don't, yeah, they get what they want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, between the last time I interviewed you and now, I feel like your channel, your community has grown quite a bit. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has grown a lot.
And I guess I have my own I guess theories on why that is, but one of the things I learned from like watching your journey was something important is that when like you have to provide value to your community, and I think you do that in a bunch of different ways. So value is a very general term. Like value could mean people like talking to you. It could mean that people really appreciate the emotes that you make. But at one point, I think I'm going to let you tell the story, but you were watching Barber's King and you made emotes for him, right?
Yeah.
And so how did that come about?
So the whole Barb thing, like I said earlier, I've been a Barb viewer for the longest time, right? And I already had my community. I was already streaming, and that was last year. And when I started my journey of streaming, a couple of months into it, I got accepted for my doctorate. And when we were in the pandemic at first, and I was not streaming, I was just watching and working on my master thesis and proposal. The background that I had for the most part was Barb. Barb streams a lot, so it was easy to have him like in the background pretty much all day when I was working. So as soon as I got accepted and I got the doctorate thing, I sent Barb a whisper on Twitch. Absolutely innocent. I didn't know that he wouldn't read it or it didn't matter. I just sent him a whisper saying, "Listen, thank you because your stream was a good company for me during this months of isolation, and I got this thing." And I could relate a lot to Barb's journey because he also got his master's, but then he tried to get his PhD, but he was like, fuck this. And then he went to streaming. And I felt at that point very similarly. So I was like, it's interesting because it's kind of like overlap his story and mine at the time. And I let him know that. He replied to that whisper, by the way, which was crazy. He said like, "Hey, dude, you know what? Congratulations, GG, and yeah, good luck."
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Okay, this is great, right?"
Yeah.
But never spoke to the guy again, obviously. Then
Yeah.
I believe it was last year. I got raided by him, and it
Mm-hmm.
was all because of a game that I was playing. I decided it was release date for Shovel Knight Dig. And
Mm-hmm.
Shovel Knight is one of my favorite retro-inspired games of recent years.
Yeah.
So when I saw Shovel Knight Dig, I was like, I need to play this. So I played it on release. He was playing it on
Mm-hmm.
release, and he decided to raid the only person who was playing that game on that day too, and that was me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then
Then after the raid, we got
um.
a couple of new people there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was in his Discord, but I wasn't active, and I saw that people were doing stuff. But Halloween
Mm-hmm.
came, and there were a lot of memes running in his community. I was watching him on the background again, and I was
Mm-hmm.
practicing drawing and emotes, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? Yeah, this is a good idea. And I started just doing it like that. It was like, this is a good idea. People are saying, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Barbas Peter Griffin or whatever. And I was like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I started doing it, and I will post it in his Discord once or twice, and people loved
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when Barb saw it and said, like, I want to hire this man. I'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started, yeah. Colorblind guy hired colorblind guy to make emotes. That for all I know, those emotes might look like crap, and then Barb and I are both super happy with the results. It's like, yeah, brother, that's such a good emote. And everybody's just like being kind. It's like, who's gonna tell them, man? So who's gonna tell these two? Like, nah, don't tell them. It's kind of cute. Like, let them be. You know. Everyone is just being extra kind.
That's pretty cool. As far as like, we've seen the wrong ways to do that, where someone will just come on your channel, like not having any connection to you, and trying to say, "Hey, can I make you graphics for your channel?"
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Um,
I see that you're an artist. Do you need more emotes so I can make them for you?
yeah,
It's like, what? Yeah, what?
yeah. Whereas in your case, like you had a personal connection, you enjoyed watching his channel, and you made something because you were like listening to the inside jokes and
Yeah. I think a lot of people appreciated that at first when they were like, oh,
yeah.
and I remember people making that comment. It's like, hey, Dangil is one of us, right? He's a viewer too,
Hmm.
so he gets it,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and then other things you do with your community is like sometimes I think it was really cool when you integrated a service where users could uh, basically gift your merch to other users in the channel.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that
Um,
worked.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then you also have like anime nights on. I think it varies on the day, but it's usually on the weekend. Um,
That is correct. Yeah, the Discord. We spend a lot of time in the Discord as well. Yeah, I spend
mhm,
a lot of time in the Discord as well. And this is something that I
mhm,
did. At first, I did it on purpose, very much consciously, because I noticed that
mhm.
many of like these streamers are not as active as they should in their own Discords.
Yeah,
They hope and expect their Discord to grow magically, and I know it's a lot of work, but I was willing to do it. And
mhm,
there was a point where Discord was still growing. It's not huge right now, but it is much bigger than it was back then. And
yeah,
back then, I was like reading every message, replying to every person, reacting to the whole thing, very genuinely,
mhm.
but very consciously that I was there to keep everyone welcome and make the whole thing, feel like it wasn't dead.
Right.
Mm.
Um, and you've also done like art contests. You've done various art
Yeah.
contests. And I think that was a good way to get everyone together to um, like work towards not I wouldn't say a common cause, but just like a common
Mm.
interest, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the
Um,
things that's made me proud, if
mhm,
anything, is to see people that who never tried, for instance, like drawing
mhm.
or
Yeah.
sculpting or whatever, and then for the first time saying like,
Mhm.
you know what, this inspired me. I kind of want to try because I feel safe, because I feel comfortable with these people here in the community, so I want to share.
Yeah.
And that was a huge win. It is still. It still
Mm-hmm.
feels like I
Yeah.
don't deserve this thing, but it's amazing that I can
Mm-hmm.
promote it. Um, so yeah, that's something we do.
And then I guess what I want to do now is before I forget, I want to make sure I get to questions that other people have asked, other chatters have asked.
Okay, cool.
Um, so one question that I thought was actually a good question from Brody, Zim T
Hmm.
question in chat. He was asking, besides Akira Toriyama, like who else influenced like your like how you draw?
Oh, okay, this is good. I think one of the biggest influence was Clamp. I don't know if you're familiar with Clamp. So
No.
Clamp is a group, it's a talent group basically. It was a group of
Mm-hmm.
women. They were all women,
Mm-hmm.
and they got together, created this Clamp group because also being as a woman, it was harder to become popular as a
Mm-hmm.
mangaka and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
they kind of this collective of very talented women. I don't know if you're familiar with Card Captors Sakura or
Yes,
X
I
or
actually enjoyed that show as a kid.
Tokyo
Yeah.
Babylon or this
Mm-hmm.
all these things. Them. So I got super influenced by them when I was younger, and I was making like a lot of drawings, Clamp style. So I
Mm-hmm.
think Clamp is a good influence for me. Um, that I always wanted to be as good as them. They are incredibly good. So I never
Mm-hmm.
quite reached that status. So, but yeah, I would say Clamp.
Cool.
Hmm.
Um, and then I don't know. Fortunately, unfortunately, these next questions are going to be like kind of meme
Oh,
questions.
let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
But yeah, Baz asked, what hair shampoo do you use to have such gorgeous hair?
Yeah. So my hair, which take a look at it because it might be going away soon. I'm done with it. I'm
Oh,
so I'm
really?
so fucking tired, man.
Like shaving your head
Oh,
done or
yeah,
like?
it was super short or something. I don't know. I'm done with it. It will grow back, but
Mm-hmm.
fuck me, man. Having long hair is so annoying. But I keep repeating this every 3 years. I do this every 3 or 4 years. Um, what shampoo I used? I have no idea. Like, there's nothing particular that I don't know. I just Head and Shoulders. Yeah, let's go with that one. I
Okay, I don't think that's the answer you wanted, but
No, I
sure.
mean no,
Okay.
because there is. Yeah.
And then yeah, Nick Dude and Seven. He wants to know,
Hmm.
when are you playing Smash with us?
Yeah. Nick, thank you for the question. But I only like really good fighting games. So yeah,
Oh no. Okay.
I don't like party games. So yeah, when we can
uh,
play a fighting game, then maybe.
uh, that's a knife in the heart. Okay. Well, and then yeah, don't trust the pandas. She wanted to know what your most memorable like stream moments were.
Memorable stream moments. Oof. The stream has. I have had moments on stream where I have been close to cry. Like
Mm-hmm.
where the feelings are so high and I feel so incredibly loved by the whole
Mm-hmm.
community that I've been very close to crying. That's been several times. I think
Mm-hmm.
highlights are always for things that the community has done. I think for the most part, and also when I have received like insane support. I would say
Yeah.
events like this past Halloween when I was 9 hours dressed
Mm-hmm.
as Gandalf, who was painful. Like I was
Yeah.
in pain for the next 2 days after that. Because the whole costume was like actually painful on my ears and like the whole pressure on my face. It was terrible.
Oh, okay.
But
Like,
yeah, no, it was there was some elastics to the
mm-hmm.
beard. My
I
ears
see.
hurt for 2 days or so. Mm, mm. Yeah, and I was there for like
Well,
nine
that's
hours, but I loved every second of it. Like people were having fun with it. They were clipping. They were
yeah,
but mostly
yeah.
like when we do these art showcases
Mm-hmm.
and people share that love that they have, and for me to realize that this is not mine anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a place right now where I can't just pull the plug. I can't just say, you know what, I won't stream anymore. See ya, because it's not mine anymore. Like it's not only mine. I am obviously
Mm-hmm.
in control of my own stuff, but I couldn't do that to the bunch of people, to all this lovely group of people who gathered there, who find
Yeah.
this a nice and safe place for them to be. And I
Mm-hmm.
think this is when I look into the arc that we are in my stream right now. It's yes, the
Mm-hmm.
Kaizo is there for the gaming part,
Yeah.
but there is another side to that, which is we are becoming more and more and going stronger on the idea of a safe place for many people to be in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? For people to feel the way they want to feel, like to be whoever they actually are, and not be judged by that, and not be attacked by that, and because there is a lot of toxicity
Right.
and shit outside. So every time I find
Sure.
someone like a
Yeah.
message like that, when someone will come to me on DMs or on stream, sometimes with a big lovely message, or sometimes with a boom and a bang and sobs and whatever, like whatever the way it is, when they share
Mm-hmm.
that their day is better because I was there in the background, or because of the people of the community or the Discord, then I think
Yeah.
that for me is a highlight every time. Every time.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Um, and then, sir, I'm gonna backtrack
Hmm.
again because I didn't really ask you about like why and how you got into Kaizo.
Hmm. Ay, man, that's so I've been watching Kaizo since then, right? Since 2018 or so.
Right.
And it was never a thing that crossed my mind to go and play it. I was like, no, I don't have the patience for this thing. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that this kind of repetition will. But then it was at the same time it was super ironic because I was speedrunner. I was
Right.
repeating
Right.
shit all the time every day. So it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is kind of this is a match made in heaven. Like I should be enjoying this thing. But I never even tried.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I saw many other people's journey, like yours, and I was following the Jank, and Mike Mountain, a friend, was also trying at the time,
Mm-hmm.
like like a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
people. And I was like,
Right.
it's not about me not being able to. It's me about like I don't feel like this is my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a challenge, like a channel point thing on Twitch a year ago or
Mm-hmm.
so, when people
Mm-hmm.
put a bunch of their imaginary currency points into me playing Kaizo for one stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And I played Quickie World 1 by Valdio. I chose it basically randomly. I was like, okay, something that is labeled as easy. I'm going to take this one. That is not a
Mm-hmm.
tutorial. That is like an actual game. So I picked Quickie 1, and on that stream alone, I got to Suffering Castle, which is the last level. And I was like, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not too bad. I think like naturally. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that was it. I didn't play anymore for a year. And then this year I was like, listen, there's a lot of things going on, and I think this Kaizo thing will be very fun for me in the sense that provides a lot of content, and
Yeah.
it's a new challenge, and something that
Mm-hmm.
I can take as a learning experience. And there were a couple of incidents that happened there. One of them being in one stream, this streamer said something like to someone who said like, "Hey, Kaizo is way too difficult," and this person replied, the streamer replied, "It really isn't, unless you never start. All you have to do is start. Go play.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
get good, you need to go and play." And as simple as that
Yeah.
sounds, it clicked with me, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I should just go and fucking play." And that's what I started doing, and
Mm-hmm.
I happen to be half decent at it, so we're still learning and still doing it, and it's part of the channel now, and it's gonna be there probably for a while. So yeah.
And I think just the fact that you got as far as Sovereign Castle and you like you kept it going up to that point alone says that you were like enjoying it. Otherwise you wouldn't have continued it.
Yeah. it's very enjoyable to me. I think the
Mm,
learning process and seeing, like, there's always something new to do. And there's a
mm,
lot of creativity involved from the creators as well. Like these people who are like, oh man, you could do this? Oh man, they did
yeah.
what? Oh man, like it's really fun to keep going to
Hmm.
those things over and over because you're always gonna be surprised.
Right.
And that's really fun.
Hmm. Okay, and I think the last question I like to ask, which I ask, everybody at the end, is what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting streaming?
Okay. That's a very good question. There is a point when I stopped feeling like a new streamer, and I started feeling like I have experience. I've been doing this for years at this
Hmm.
point, right? So
Hmm.
I think it's safe for me to say, or to give people advice. I would say number one is do not worry too much about spending a fortune. You don't need the latest microphone, the latest camera, and the latest mixer to go live. You don't
Hmm.
need that. But you do need to provide something decent to your audience.
Hmm.
Number two, you won't have an audience at first. So you need to build that and get used to talk to yourself. Get used to talk about the game to yourself at all times. But
Hmm.
remember when to shut the fuck up. You don't need to talk at all times
Mm, that's
because
fair.
that's also overwhelming, right? Number three, do not pick on one particular person on your chat to be your only source of conversation because you're keeping that person in
Right.
shackles and that person won't return.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware. Number four, this is crucial. Do not think of numbers. I am learning that myself and I'm struggling with that for years. It is very hard to not look at numbers and feel really
Yeah.
good or really bad.
Hmm. Right.
Don't
Right.
disable them, turn them off, send them to hell. Like, do not take the emails from Twitch. Don't fall for that because it's gonna hurt. I promise you, it's gonna hurt. So don't.
Hmm.
It's really bad. Streaming is something really heavy mentally speaking. So be careful. Take
Hmm.
care of yourself. Take care of your own mind. Don't look at numbers. And finally, as we
Um.
said, oh sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. 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 Go ahead. You can ask
So
after.
finally, is provide something for your audience. This is
Hmm.
you're
Yeah.
not entitled to anything. You don't deserve anything. You People are giving you their time already and their company if they are talking to you. Give them something back, right? If someone gives you
Hmm.
$5 a month for a subscription, what are you giving to them? And you can say, "Oh, I'm giving them the entertainment." It's like fair enough, but they can get that for free. So what
Right.
else are you providing for them?
Hmm.
And you don't have to become friends with everybody. At some point, you can't. There's a point when your audience grows so much that you just can't be friends with everybody, and that's
Hmm.
unfortunate. But it is what it is, right? But you
Yeah.
provide something as your whole show. What is it that you bring to them that they can
Hmm.
take away and say like, you know what? I get this from here. I like this because it gives me this. So
Hmm.
think about that, and yeah, I would say that those are my general advice for people starting.
Makes sense. And then I wanted to ask some questions about some of those points you
Hmm.
made. Um. So you mentioned that uh, like provide something
Hmm.
decent. Like, what do you mean by what does decent mean in this case?
Well,
Like,
like I said, right? You don't need the most expensive, and for example, you don't need the most expensive gear to start streaming, but you
mm,
also don't want to destroy people's ears with a horrible
right.
peaky microphone, because that's something you
Mm-hmm.
can control. You can absolutely can make a $10 microphone sound much better if
Sure. Yeah.
you spend time on it. So just show people that you care, that you're working on the thing, that it matters to you. Because if you treat your thing as if it doesn't fucking matter to you, then it won't fucking matter to
Mm-hmm.
them. If
Right.
you disrespect that space in your stream, they will do the same to you. Many people are like, oh, why is my chat so toxic? It's like, look at yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you allowing that? Are you promoting that? Are you like that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a reflection. So again, in the case of gear, it's the same thing. You don't need the most expensive camera, but you can make work a very crappy camera and make it work okay, right? That people will have, right? If you can stream at the highest quality that you possibly can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are numbers, and it varies from person to person, but offer the best you can offer. Think about these things. Look at your frame rate, look at your resolution, look at the colors, look
Right.
at
Yeah.
all these technical things that you can, respect the audience and their time with the best you can, showing that you care, if you care, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I would add like if you're not sure how to get your mic quality to sound good, YouTube it.
Yeah,
If you're not sure how to get your stream to look good, YouTube it. It's all things you can
yeah,
research.
absolutely.
So,
Like
mhm.
streaming made me a video editor. It made me an emote maker. It made me an audio decent, knowledgeable person, right? Like
Mhm.
streaming
Mhm.
gave me all these tools because at some point I'd sat down and I was like, oh man, I sound like crap. I need to sound better.
Mhm.
Or oh man, how do I look better? How do I like? Yeah, because I went and did my research. But like those people should
Yeah.
do that too, right? You care.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Mhm. Um, and then one other thing I wanted to ask about is you mentioned get used to talking to yourself until you like build an audience, and I think some people are like, okay, but how do I build an audience? And I have my own theories on that. You might have your own
Hmm.
theories on that as well. So if someone asks that, like, what do you say to that? I guess.
Yeah, building an audience is always difficult, and we struggle daily with that, right? Who is actually a
Mm-hmm.
part of your community? Who isn't? Who is the audience and who isn't? And your audience is different from your community. I think your audience is the people who are there watching you any given day.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily part of
Mm-hmm.
your community. They don't necessarily care about your
Mm-hmm.
Discord, your problems, your emotes. They might be there just for the game.
Right.
So picking your game is important in order to build a more stable audience. I have seen
Mm-hmm.
streamers come up and be super big at first for the first couple of weeks, and then just go down, down, down until they reach like you know a very low viewership. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
because they were part of a trend. They were part of a thing that was moving, and they didn't seize the moment correctly. They went with the hype and didn't fix the thing. So if you want to build an audience, I would say what worked for me originally was pick something that is your base, your niche, right? It could
Mm-hmm.
be a game. It could be a gimmick that you do. Maybe you're a speedrunner, so you speedrun a lot of different games. And speedrunning
Mm-hmm.
is your thing. Maybe it's one game only that you focus a lot on getting to know more about the game, on showing people. Like people are in your stream either to be entertained or to learn
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
It's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
So are you entertaining them, or are you like teaching them and showing them stuff? So for teaching and
So
showing
be
stuff, you
clear
need to be
on your
good.
purpose. Yeah.
You need to know. So do your
Mm-hmm.
research as well. But pick a game, and it's always good to build a base on that. But do not get yourself into that prison of like, this is the only thing that I do. I only play this game. Because the day you don't play that
Yeah.
game,
Mm-hmm.
people won't be there.
Right.
So try to balance
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that makes
Mm.
sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Yeah, thank you, Dangle, for doing the interview again with me. And yeah, just to clarify, the reason I never really said at the beginning, but the reason why we're doing this interview again is because the first time we did this, my side did not record and his did, so it was kind of awkward. So,
Yeah.
but this time we made sure it worked, and so you'll get to hear it.
I am super
So yeah,
happy
Dangle.
that we
Yeah.
did this. Thank you so much, Gold, for
Hmm.
having me over. Like it's really fun. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, glad to do it again.
Yeah.
All right. See
Yeah.
ya.